On today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast, we know where the Lady Rebels are going to dance. We'll tell you when that is, who they're playing, and what their seed is, and what the path looks like. We also talk about the storylines going into spring football, and if we have a little bit of time, we'll talk about the weekend that was in Ole Miss baseball, even though Derek Vandegrift comes in tomorrow. But this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis. Thank you for tuning into today, and we hope that you are having a great Monday, though most people are not, and they're doing what they're doing. But thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. Anyway, we are free and available on all platforms, wherever you get your podcast, also on YouTube. So do us a favor, hit subscribe, hit the bell for notifications when new videos go up, and of course, upvote the video itself. It will be appreciated. Trust me. And also, want to let you know that today's episode of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast is brought to you by RunYourPool. March Madness is here, and RunYourPool has a better way to create your bracket. RunYourPool.com, the premier sports pool hosting service. So that's pretty cool. So, Ole Miss versus South Dakota Friday. So we're going to bring it up. This is what it looks like. Ole Miss versus South Dakota Friday. Ole Miss is 7 seed. Game is going to be played in Waco because it'll be grouped with the Baylor thing as they are the 2 seed. So if we beat South Dakota, Baylor, like the 14 consecutive year Big 12 champion, awaits us. Now they don't have Kim Mulkey, but they're still Baylor, and they have all that tradition over and over of being built up. So that is that. Now, I'm excited about this, and there's people all over the place that talk about why wouldn't you want to be a part of this? Why, like it's a choice, like we're actively choosing not to do it. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of this? And my argument is we kind of are. Now, the men's team is a little bit down at the moment, but the guidepost for what the men's team needs to go through is sitting right here in the NCAA tournament. 2 years ago, this women's basketball team was 0-16. Now they're wearing white in the NCAA tournament. And that's important because you don't want to be in a color jersey in the first round because that means you're a lower seed. That means you're 9 or below seeded. This team is wearing white, which means they're going to be the favorite in the first round. Now, are they going to win? I do not know. The NCAA tournament has a way of really stepping on people that go there for the first time and kind of get swallowed up by the atmosphere because it is a little bit different than what you're used to on your daily home and home situation. But it is something that, they might go in against South Dakota and completely crap the bed, for lack of a better word. Like real similar to Rob Evans whenever he played Temple that first time they got to the big dance. It's been 15 years since Armini Price played at Ole Miss, and they made the Elite Eight. They went on that run with Carol Ross. It's been a long time. And somebody my age, their childhood was filled up with the Gillum sisters and Ole Miss always having a good women's basketball team that they could hang their hat on. They didn't have a good men's team, but they always had a good women's team, whether it be Jennifer or Peggy Gillum or the whole 9 yards with Van Chancellor going through all of those years built up. And then after Carol Ross, they kind of hit hard times. And they got this rebuild, this ultimate rebuild. And they went out and found Carol Ross, who was at Jacksonville at the time. And they were patient with her. They understood the job that was at hand. You have to remember, before Coach Yo, you had the people from Fresno State that brought the NCAA to town that eventually caught football. Then they went to I forget his name, the coach of Middle Tennessee's son. I only know that because whenever he coached high school basketball, the dad, my wife was in school there and actually tried out for him. And then he ended up at MTSU, and his son went to Kentucky. We hired him there, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. So there was an ultimate rebuild for Coach Yo when she got here, and she put in the work, honestly. There's been exceptional recruiting classes that she's brought in. They've hit the transfer portal. They've tried to build their team in every way and take advantage of every system that they can possibly take advantage of. And because of that, they've had a little bit of success here. There's incremental gains. They've gone from 0-16 a couple of years ago to last year. I think they won 6 games, and this year they won 10. So it will be interesting. And next year could be a little bit of a problem because Shakira Austin is going to go off to fame and fortune and a ton of money in the WNBA. But this rebuild, this confidence that we have and the way it's going all one direction, it's something to pay attention to. It's something to understand. It's something to like because she's done it the right way. And she's been just a total person that is full of positive energy. I followed this team last year when they went through the NIT all the way to the championship game. And somewhere at the middle of last season, it kind of clicked in to what was going on. And once that light bulb went on, they started to really grow and grow. And now they're like 23-8. I don't know their exact record, but it's somewhere around there. And they're a top 4 team in the Southeastern Conference, which is always notoriously the best league in college basketball, especially women's college basketball. And it's just impressive. It just really is impressive. And I just want to say congratulations to Coach Yo. I am just beaming with pride for what you've been able to accomplish. I look forward to seeing how this grows and the next steps that are taken. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And thank you very much for coming to Oxford and taking this challenge because there's a lot of coaches that wouldn't. And you did, and you're getting your just dessert. So congratulations, and I hope everything goes to your liking. All right, March Madness is only a week away, and that means you need to start thinking now about where you're going to run your brackets this year. Are you going for the usual or are you going for the best? We've done our homework here and we're running brackets with RunYourPool.com. If you got a business, Run Your Pool can help you take some of that madness magic and play alongside your employees or even gain customers. Plus, they offer full white glove service, customer support, custom branding, and one of the easiest 3-minute setups you will ever find. Clearly, we believe in Run Your Pool because, like I said, we're running our brackets here ourselves. There's no truer test than that. So if you want to play against us for a shot at a cash prize up to $1,800, join us at runyourpool.com/lockedon. And while you're there, create your own pool for your friends and family. Enter Pure Madness at checkout for 10% off your custom pool. That's runyourpool.com/lockedon for your chance to win a cash prize of up to $1,800. We look forward to seeing and beating you there. Also, anyone take Virginia and now your brackets are all busted. You know, they lose to Maryland, Baltimore County because it's just, mine's not looking good. But I still got some cash for my StatHero Pick'em. And if you haven't checked this new platform out, you're really missing out. So take control back from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage. Start focusing on the players you know best with the gameplay that doesn't rely on big spreads, long odds, or funky props. StatHero gives you the advantage, resulting in their gamers winning 4 times more often. Why? Because StatHero eliminates the mystery about who or what you're going against. In addition, their pick'em games, they have dozens of lineups you can comb through and take the head-to-head. This is what daily fantasy was meant to be. So, sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon and use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon, promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% content match. That's locked on, all one word, stathero.com/lockedon, promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. Make sure you check out the Locked On Bracket Breakdown today, right here on the Locked On Ole Miss channel, podcast feed, and YouTube channel. Do that. College basketball experts Chris Gordy, Andy Patton, and betting expert Lee Sterling give you in-depth breakdowns of every matchup. It's going to be really cool, so tune in for that. So in the first segment, I talked about how just proud I am, just beaming for our women's basketball program because of where they came from and understanding the hill that they had to climb. And I say congratulations, and I absolutely mean it. In baseball, over the weekend, Ole Miss dropped a game. They won the series 2-1 to Oral Roberts. Twitter was unbearable with oral jokes all over the place because there was a bunch of 12-year-olds, but it is what it is. Ole Miss was able to win the game. They slugged the game, won 16-2 on Friday. We had a snow day. And then on Sunday, through 2 doubleheader games, 7 innings apiece, Ole Miss won 6-2 and lost 8-4. Now, I think that one of Ole Miss's benefits and really big strengths is their bullpen depth. And because of that, a 7-inning game does not behoove them. It's a bad situation whenever there's a rainout. And this kind of fit the bill because their starter can go 5-6 innings. All of a sudden, there's not many outs you have to get, and they're able to take care of that. And you don't get into your bullpen, which is probably the strength of this pitching staff. But Ole Miss was able to win 2-1 in the series count. And this was not a horrible loss. And you're definitely not going to win every game. But we have to raise our expectations. We have to understand the difference between just being good enough to host a regional and to get into that top 8 seed, which is something that pundits and prognosticators in the Ole Miss beat have trouble with because we don't really know what's required to get in that top 8 range. They'll always tell you need to win a certain number of games in the off week. You need to have a certain number of losses to host. Yes, we understand the path to hosting. We understand that. We get that. But we want those home games. We want those home games in the Super Regional. We do not want to go out to Arizona to where they just launching pad us. We don't want to go to Arkansas, where the last 2 games we've been. We don't want to be the 13th or 14th seed. We want to get in that top 8. And because of that, we need to really take advantage of these national seeds. And a lot of times it's going to come across as nitpicking or complaining for the sake of complaining. But as I tell y'all every single time, a loss in this game shaves off the margin for error for that national seed. There's probably 18, 19 wins that we need to win in the SEC as well. But we need to take care of our midweek games, our non-conference games. And at 13-2, going into before SEC play, that is fine. We're where we want to be. We just need to make sure that whenever North Alabama pops up on the schedule, we don't get that bomb. Whenever Memphis pops up and we play back-to-back nights, we're able to get those. And those do not influence the weekend. Because they're important in different ways. They really are. They're important in different ways. And understanding that will kind of help you understand exactly where this baseball team is. Because, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid right now on this baseball team. I can see it. Whenever they play, they just completely slug. They look, for lack of a better term, they look like Arkansas did last year. They're like a snake bite. Just at any moment, they can pop out of the weeds and get you for 4. And they have that ability. And Kevin Graham is going to come back in 6 to 8 weeks, well before we go off into regional times. That is going to be beneficial as well. Because this is going to help us in left field as it stands now. Develop some depth. Whether it be Kemp Alderman, whether it be Hayden Leatherwood, which I think it might end up being Hayden Leatherwood. Alderman has dropped 2 fly balls, and the fielding percentage of this team is really lacking. They're fine when John Gaddis pitches, but whenever one of the power pitches go in there, it's like they switch off from time to time. It's absolutely unbelievable. But they've been able to overcome them in most games because their bats are so good. And once Kevin Graham comes back, it's going to be able to look better. And if we can expand that depth while he is out, this team will be better for it. Because right now, the way it's set up is probably Southern Miss is going to be the other host, and Mississippi State's going to go down there as the number 2 or number 3. They're not going to send them to Oxford. They do not want that smoke. Trust me, they don't. And you'll get somebody, Central Arkansas, Louisiana, Tennessee, possibly Tennessee Tech, come into Oxford, and it's time to go. It is time to go. And understanding that will be what it is. Our standards are national seed. Our standards are not hosting. Hosting is something, if our goals are met, will happen on its own. Our standards are so much higher than just hosting. Hosting is a nice baseline to get in the tournament that you want to get in. But if you accomplish your goals, you're going to be in a better place. We have to change our mindset when it comes to baseball, and specifically Ole Miss baseball. There is just a difference between we just need to host, because you hear them all the time. Host, host, host. Yeah, I'm sure the city of Oxford wants Ole Miss to host. But what is more important is the games that happen the next week. And eventually the games that happen the next week. And understanding that will help you recalibrate your expectations when it comes to Ole Miss baseball. I mean, it just will. Because they're good. They are really good. And I don't say this lightly. Now, whenever they start playing this week against Auburn, we'll see how they look whenever they move up. Because the games in the SEC is going to get a little bit harder, just like the season has gotten a little bit harder. He did a nice job with scheduling this year of just ramping up slowly. And now the SEC is, believe it or not, going to ramp up even more. And then probably by early to mid-April, somewhere in time in there, the SEC slate's really going to kick off, and we really need to be clicking basically on all cylinders. And we definitely need to concentrate on our fielding, and we need to work on our Sunday starter at this point. Those are the two things that we can nitpick moving forward. Sunday, today's starter, Game 3 starter, didn't look so great. And hasn't, honestly, for a few weeks. So it is what it is. It's that time of year again, and college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. From all the latest odds, contests, player props, BetOnline.net is the #1 sports source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor and hit subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications of new videos being uploaded, and of course, upvote the video itself. Now make sure to check out the Locked On Bracket Breakdown today, right here on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast feed and YouTube channel. College basketball experts Chris Gordy, Andy Patton, and betting expert Lee Sterling give you in-depth breakdowns of every matchup. It's really cool. It's a way that you can subscribe to the Ole Miss podcast channel, the Locked On Ole Miss YouTube page, however you want to look at, and you can get all this extra content that Locked On provides. It's really pretty cool. And our goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube page before the college football season. If we do that, the post-game show will be live. And you'll be able to participate via chat, maybe even via the phone lines. We don't know how it's going to be set up, but it's going to be something pretty interesting. So it won't be overly long. I'm not going to sit there and do like a 2-hour marathon session, but it might be a half hour immediately following the ball game, and you can set it up there. So that'll be pretty cool. So we were thinking about storylines around this quarterback competition in spring practice. And last week we talked about how the running backs would affect it, how the wide receivers would reflect it, how the offensive line would reflect it. And those are all instrumental points when it comes to this quarterback competition. But the question in my mind, and we will not know this answer, and because nobody will ever talk about it, but who is the leader of the team right now? Who got the lead in January and February workouts? Going into spring practice, who got the team lead? Who are the team paying attention to? Now, remember, Matt Corral was the undisputed leader of this team. There is going to be a leadership vacuum moving forward. Just period. It's just going to happen. Just because Matt Corral is probably the best leader that Ole Miss football has ever had. His numbers aren't as good as Chad Kelly's. He's not as polished professionally as Eli Manning was. But as far as being a leader, I don't know if another player has come through Ole Miss and been that leader. So understand that vacuum existed when fall workout or spring workouts winter workouts started. Sorry about that. And somebody has to fill that void. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, honestly, Chance Campbell had that role. Now, I think somebody like Otis Reese is going to step up and take it. One of the defensive linemen are going to step up and take it. I'm not so much worried about the defensive side of the ball. But the offensive side of the ball, now you have guys coming back that can be leaders that are on the offensive line. A Nick Broker or Jeremy James or somebody like that comes back and becomes a leader. And that is fantastic. We need that. But who is the skill guy that's going to step up? Is it going to be Zach Evans? Is it going to be Jackson Dart? Is Luke Altmaier the guy that just wants to come up and see this? He saw how Matt Corral led his team last year. Now, people might say over and over that I am rooting for Luke Altmaier to win the job, and that's not the case at all. I'm rooting for either of them to win the job because whoever does, the team is going to be in a much better spot than I think they would be otherwise. This is going to be a war. And this is going to be the main story that everybody pays attention to for the next, 6-7 months. It's going to dominate the narrative. Right now you have Coach Yo taking a team to the NCAA Women's Tournament. You've got the baseball team that is 13-2 and could very well be number one by the time you watch this. And the main story from now until the football season will be this quarterback competition. Understand that. Don't run from it. Just like if you're number one, enjoy it. Absolutely enjoy it. Doesn't matter unless you're number one the last time it comes up, but enjoy it. If you get ranked number one, enjoy it. Because it doesn't come around very often. And I think a situation with people that talk trash, because like I said, I don't believe in talking trash, not as a fan. When I played basketball, when I played football and all that, yes, I would talk to people because the mental part of the game is just important as the physical. But as a fan, I don't talk trash to anybody. I don't care. I don't care because there are some fans that in order for them to feel better, they need to tear down the other guys. And they do that with Mississippi State. Mississippi State does it with Ole Miss all the time. But the reality of it is, what happens in an Ole Miss game is honestly good enough. And everybody can truly enjoy and appreciate what's happening. What's happening in the State game just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me if State goes 12-0. It really doesn't. I honestly wouldn't give it a second thought. But that's just the way that I take in sports. I'm such a laser-focused fan to where I look at Ole Miss and what's going on, and everybody else, it just doesn't matter. The things that are going on in Alabama, it just doesn't matter. What matters is how does Ole Miss get better? How does Ole Miss do the things that they need to do? Don't copy other people. There's people that all the time, whenever a coaching hire gets made, they want to copy Alabama or they want to copy Florida. And that just doesn't work in its own way. If that guy that you're looking at Alabama fits the other criteria that you're looking for, yeah, give him a look. But don't hire him because he's at Alabama. Because they're completely different situations. And because one works there, it doesn't mean it will work here. You need to find somebody that fits your profile, that can do this the way you want to do it. And honestly, Hugh Freeze was probably the first person that fit that bill at Ole Miss. And that woke people up a little bit. Now, Hugh Freeze kind of fell into their lap with the whole Michael Oher situation on Coach O's staff. And then, like 1 year at Arkansas State, it was like, go get him, go get him. And that probably woke up boosters to, trust their own eyes and what they're seeing and what's going on. Now, it's another situation to actually, if everything's being said as performative instead of actually real. But that's another thing altogether. So, doing that in Lane Kiffin was another hire like that. Matt Luke was not that hire. Matt Luke was the safe hire. I like Matt. Matt was a friend of mine. He knew me from videos. He's a fantastic guy. Absolutely. He was a safe hire because Ole Miss was scared of what was coming with the NCAA, and they were just trying to figure out how to navigate it. And Matt Luke did a wonderful job of navigating that storm. We signed 2 players from the state of Mississippi in 2018. 2. Our whole class was out of state. You know why? Because it had to be. Because probation completely ripped apart our program. If Matt Corral didn't fall in our lap because Dan Mullen, for lack of a better word, decided to get uppity on his visit out there, if Matt Corral doesn't go to Ole Miss, this could have been a bad situation. Now, Matt Luke might have succeeded if it not for Ross Bjork and his hired offensive coordinator and his demand that Rich Rod gets hired. We'll never know that. We do know how that all ended, and we do know that Lane Kiffin got here because of it. And because of it, we won 10 games last season and went to the Sugar Bowl again, which is something that until 2015 hadn't happened since the 60s. So, have confidence in what your eyes are seeing. And that happens in the quarterback competition as well. So if you see the spring game, have confidence because they might have a bad game, but if they don't perform and the lights go on, that could be a problem. See Michael Spurlock in 2004 against Memphis. So it should be an interesting quarterback controversy or competition, and definitely follow every bit of it. But understand that have confidence in your eyes. Believe what you're seeing. And also have fun watching this and following Ole Miss sports because it is fun. If it's not fun, just you're not doing it right. So have fun. Enjoy it. And basically get ready for the ride of our life. So, all right, this week, tomorrow, Derek Vandy Griff is going to come by and talk Oral Roberts, and he's going to talk Auburn. Cody Pruitt will be on the show Wednesday, and he's going to talk about spring football a little bit. Then we'll have our normal Kara McCutcheon and Tom Vanderford on the show on Friday. So we have a pretty full week on the Lockdown Ole Miss podcast, and we're going to bring next week, probably try and bring Bill Flowers back in. So we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to start trying to really, really work this. So thank everybody for watching, and now make the second listen, Locked On NFL Draft. Ron Tracy and former NFL quarterback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. It's free and wherever you get your podcast. Till tomorrow.